Okay, this is interesting. Got a medical exemption from your daughter's doctor to not wear a mask at school. The school requested a medical release of information to discuss this with the doctor. Is this legal? Can the school legally require my daughter to wear a mask or a shield despite the exemption? Well, what's the school asking for? The school isn't denying it. The school is requesting consent from you to be able to discuss these limitations with your doctor. That's it. So there's not a rejection as of now. And is that common? Yes, it's very common for a school to request to speak to a child's physician. Very common. Happens all the time in my cases. Now, at the same time, let me go ahead and tell you this. HIPAA is a one-way road. It's not a two-way road. Okay, that's the reason that the school is asking for your consent, because they cannot legally, or they, let me say it this way. A school can call your doctor all day long, and some have done it. And some doctors are stupid enough to respond to schools without the proper consent. Now, who's in trouble in that scenario? Okay, is it the school for calling and asking to speak to your doctor, and then your doctor responds and spills the bean about your child? Is it? No, no. See, the school can call all day long, and if your doctor's stupid enough to talk to your school personnel without consent, then what your doctor or the office manager should say is, do you have consent from the parent to talk to us? And then your doctor's office needs to say, I need to see that consent, and then put it in your record that there is consent to have a communication about your child. HIPAA is a one-way road. Okay? This is a barrier. This is a protective barrier, HIPAA. This is the school calling. The only way they get through is two ways. Your doctor's dumb and doesn't ask for the consent to talk about your child, or they do obtain that consent from from you to be able to discuss educationally relevant information with your doctor. And at that point, that's the second way that they bypass HIPAA. Okay, only two ways: dumb and your consent. Okay, and I have seen both. In fact, I knew a doctor, and we were friends. I'm not going to say friends. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I knew him and I respected him. Uh, he went down and respected my books after this one. But he had a principal call that liked to wear capri pants and Tevas, if you can envision that, to work, and she had a doctorate in education, doctorate degree. So she would call the doctor and call herself Dr. So-and-so. Okay? Now, a doctor's office, oh, Dr. So-and-so, Dr. So-and-so. And he was just like she had some kind of authority to talk to him. Doctor, oh, doctor, doctor, doctor. And then I came in and I said, what the hell, why would you talk to this principal? He goes, principal? You know, she said that she was a doctor. And I said, a doctor of education, not a medical doctor, not a real doctor. Okay? And those of you who have doctorate in education degrees, I know you're going to get upset at me, and I'm sorry, but you're not, you know, I'd hate to break it to you, but you know, technically I have a doctorate, and I don't call myself Dr. James. I just don't call myself Dr. James, Dr. Galini, Dr. anything. Lawyers are smart enough to call us by a different name. We're just lawyers and attorneys, even though we do have doctorate degrees. I think that is deceptive. And the only people I call doctor, you know, I really try not to call you guys doctors in meetings, if you know, and I know that some of you are like, well, that's so disrespectful because I earned it. I get it, but I don't have people calling me by special titles, guys. I just don't. Don't call me Barrister James, you know, Berenstain Bear James. You know, I just, they don't call me special names. I'm just Mr. Galini or James. That's it. Yeah, believe me, I ran the gauntlet just like all of you guys did, got to law school, passed the bar. All right. But I don't sit there and puff myself up to require some kind of title to make myself feel better. I just do my job. That's it. But the point of it is that, he had absolutely violated, trampled on this kid's HIPAA rights, and the result of that was that the principal seriously misconstrued the information, notated it in a record that way, then pursued the parent for truancy off of this convoluted and polluted and toxic information that she skewed from this conversation with the doctor, who was dumb enough to sit there. And then she had the parent arrested for truancy once she had built that case. Now, who caused this problem? Well, the principal, yes, and she paid the price, but so did the doctor. And none of it would have happened had the doctor not gone through the proper process of verifying that consent had been obtained in order to discuss this child and not be taken in by a title from a woman in capri pants and Tevas. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying that was the visualization that I always remembered, is just patchouli, Tevas, and capri pants. Okay, so I'll get off of that. I don't need any hate mail, guys, from people who love capri pants and Tevas and maybe patchouli, but I don't like patchouli. I'll just let you know that. Okay, so where was I even going with this? The hell was I even talking about? I'm just envisioning everybody not liking my capri pants and Teva comment. All right. Okay. So the medical release. So this is what I recommend to parents as well. Is that if you give consent, then write on the form. You need to read it, and it will absolutely, the school form will absolutely do their damnedest to try to get you to agree to expanded language. I mean, do I fault them? No, I don't fault them. They're a school. They're going to ask for all this extra stuff. Of course they are. Doesn't mean that you have to agree to it. And there's nothing wrong with you crossing through aspects of it that you don't agree with and just initial next to it. And make sure that you walk out of there with a copy of that consent form. What you are looking for is to provide them very limited access to your child in discussing only educationally relevant information. Now, what would be the educationally relevant information that would require them to talk to your doctor? Well, it would be just about that exemption and why that exemption was necessary. Well, after you give the consent, then you need to go to your doctor and you need to go to your doctor's office. You need to show them the consent form that you signed. And you need to say, look, I, as the consumer for my child, am agreeing that you can talk to the school personnel under these limited parameters. All right? Not anything expanded outside of that. That's it. That's all you need to do is get everybody on the same page. So the principal calls and says, why can't this kid wear a mask? And then your doctor just says, because I said so, because it's medically necessary that the child receive that exemption for whatever reason. What really irritates me, and it happens, it's one of the unique things about education. I've never in my life seen a profession to where I have so many educators believe that they're experts in every field, law. And guys, I'm not an educator. I don't ever think that I'm an expert in education. The only thing that I do is assess a program and then make recommendations on how to fix it. So I know sort of what you do, but I don't ever claim to sit there and get into the minutia of an expertise of what it is that educators do. I don't. Okay? I'm an expert in what I do. And there's some carryover, but not to that degree. And if I wanted that, I could go back to college and become one. That's not what, and possibly I may. Who knows? But the thing that irritates me is that so many times I have principals, they'll look at a doctor's recommendation or a doctor's note and then immediately go, I'm not going to listen to that. I'm not going to follow that. As though the principal somehow is a doctor. A medical doctor has all the knowledge of a medical doctor and somehow has the authority and the power to somehow supersede those recommendations from somebody who spent a hell of a long time achieving that level of a medical doctor. It happens all the time. So that's my recommendation, and that's how all of you parents need to treat that. You don't sit there and give carte blanche consent to anything. You can limit that to educationally relevant information. Because that's all guys, remember that that's all the school will ever repeat to you. We only provide services that are educationally relevant to your child, and my thing is poo-poo. That's not true. If a school is not a therapeutic setting for kids, I don't know what the hell is. All children go to a therapeutic environment known as a school to where crime and social disorder and disobedience occurs. And in this therapeutic setting, we're training them to be socially appropriate and to learn socially appropriate behavior. We do excuse crime in school. That is the place where kids make mistakes in this therapeutic setting known as public education. We excuse a lot of behavior that would not be excused in the real world when everybody becomes an adult. So if that's not a therapeutic setting, I don't know what is. But then you put in medical need, you put in disability, you put in special needs, you put all of those things in, and then you have various forms of need of therapy. But that's what I hear all the time. It's not educationally relevant. Flip it. If they're making that claim, that's exactly. You have no business knowing my child's medical history unless it's relevant, educationally relevant. Too many of you parents, by the way, dig yourself into your own problem by being an open book and having diarrhea of the freaking mouth in what you're telling these people up at school, and they use it against you every time. They'll listen, they'll notate it. And then if they end up not liking you, if they don't end up not liking a certain situation, they will use that information against you. There hasn't been a situation that I've been involved in where that hasn't been the case in the scenario. I'm on an active case now to where, well, I'm not gonna bring it up because everybody involved in that are members of this group, and highly disappointed in the administration on that one, in using that information as some cheap attempt to manipulate a situation. But we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. That's what I recommend you do, though. And I believe that the exemption and the medical should trump whatever the school policy is. Okay, that's the right thing to do.